Hello and welcome back to another episode on Let's Talk Football Careers with myself, Barry, and today's special guest, all the way from Australia, Ian Ferguson. How are you doing, Ian?
Hi, Barry. Thanks for having us, buddy.
Right. No, you're very welcome. We've got a hell of a career to run through here, Ian. Career that you must be very proud of. I can see you've got 19 domestic trophies in Scotland spread over a 22-year career. You've had 9 Scotland caps. You're a Hall of Famer with Rangers. So we'll just crack on right for the start, Ian, if that's all right. Starting just from your youth, I believe you were brought up right next to Parkhead.
Mate, I was actually 50 metres away from Parkhead. In fact, probably maybe even closer. The Celtic end, and I loved it. I loved Jane Field Street. It was a great place to be brought up, and the scheme that we were brought up in was it was full of Rangers fans, believe it or not, which was great. So yeah, I was a stone throw from the graveyard in Celtic Park.
Unreal. And I believe you started your career at Clyde, but in between that, I mean, what teams were you with then at your sort of through your youth? Were you local teams?
I was with boys club under Sir Alex and Archie Knox at that time. A man called Sam Beck basically approached Aberdeen Boys Club at that time for me to go up and train through the holidays. It was one of these ones where you became an S-form and you were going up every time the holidays came, which was great. Really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic experience for a young kid to go up to Aberdeen and be in there with guys like Alex McLeish, Gordon Strachan, John Hewitt, and the list goes on, John McMaster, all these guys was great. And then you see them on TV and things like that. You see them playing on the sports channels, which was great. So yeah, but look, it never worked out, unfortunately for me. I thought I was getting taken up, and then I got released, and then I went to Clyde. But that journey as well was quite tough because I actually had nothing when I came back from Glasgow, and I went down to I worked in Dunham Moors and down in Brighton, which was again a job. I was 16, went and done that, and then I went to play for the Work, believe it or not, and it was a man called Dougie Liddell that. He was a coach of the team at that time, and he then recommended me to I think it was Joseph Dunn, who was one of the directors of Clyde, and basically went up and said to him, "Have a look at this kid." He said he's a good player. You're obviously involved in Clyde, and then within I think it was 2 weeks, he told me I get called into the office at Dunham Moors, and he told me basically to go and report to a man called Craig Brown. And it all went from there, basically. And then Craig Brown put me in the reserves, basically gave me an opportunity to obviously show what I had. And within 7 games, I was in the first team.
Yeah,
and I loved it down there. Again, it was an experience for a young kid going a journey that was very strange, but it worked out for me where it was great and got that opportunity through playing for the Works team, ended up playing for Clyde, and then I get promoted to the first team, as I said, with guys like Paul Flexney, John McVeigh, Stevie Evans. These guys were brilliant when I went down there. They were first team regulars and took me under their wing and helped me through that period to obviously play in the first team. And you listen to these guys were unbelievable for me. I was 2 weeks ago, about 2 months ago, I was playing for a Works football team, and then I'm performing for Clyde, with first team players again, which was great. As I said, they helped me through that journey.
And I think that toughens you up as well. I mean, it set you up for a right good age. You went for a young lad playing with men. I've spoke to many guests about this, about the sort of grassroots of Scottish football now, and you just had to make your own way. And like I say, I think that toughens you up for you. You then moved on to St Mirren. You had a £60,000 transfer to St Mirren. Was that Alex Smith that was the manager?
No, it was Miller.
Alex Miller, it was. Right.
Brought me to St Mirren, believe it or not. It was after a Scotland game that I actually signed in the Blue Room for St Mirren.
Right.
Again, was unbelievable. Thinking, when I'm signing that contract, I'm actually thinking to myself, I wish this was for Rangers. A young kid getting an opportunity, and again going from Clyde to St Mirren was a huge jump because I was working in the hospital as a porter at that time, and also my job with Clyde, football job with Clyde. And then I got the opportunity to go full time, which was great. So that was a massive step for me, and it's a tough gig again, going from part time to then going to obviously full time. Again, you go down there. There's you know, Billy Abercrombie, you know, Campbell Money, Brian Gallagher, all these guys again. Frank McGarvey. Getting into again Love Street to go and play beside these guys was amazing. Again, part of the journey that I loved, which was great. I didn't feel any pressures at that time. It was good. I enjoyed my football. I enjoyed the place, which was great. And then Alex Miller went to Hibs. You know, I think about a month later, which was quite a sore one because he was the one that brought me in, and I didn't know what was going to happen. New manager might come in, might not like you, might move you on, or might not play you. So Alex gave me every opportunity, and when he obviously signed me, and you know, he did say to me, "I'll you know, you'll get the games, you've got the backing from us." And then within about, as I said, 7-8 weeks, Alex was away to Hibs, and then Alex Smith came in with Jimmy Bowen. And then when they guys came in, they made everybody feel again at ease, which was good. I felt that brilliant. His man management skills and Jimmy's were first class in regards to the younger players. Just getting through everybody, talking to them, telling what the expectations were, what the roles were in the team, and what they were looking for. The standards wanted to be high, again, which was brilliant. You know, that was right up my street. So I was buzzing when they came in, and I really enjoyed it under Alex Smith.
Yep, and I believe, I mean, looking at my research here, I must have only been a young lad. You're talking St Mirren season 87-88. That was the season that St Mirren, the last time St Mirren won the Scottish Cup, the third time St Mirren have won it, but you scored the winner as well. I mean, how does that feel as 19-year-old?
Games that, you know, getting there, we had a great squad, a great young squad, you know, we did that, mate. You know, with Paul Lambert, guys like Brian Whittaker, David Winnie, Ian Cameron, you know, these guys were all but my age, which was great. We had such a young team and good experience. You know, as I said, Billy Abercrombie, Derek Hamilton, you know, Campbell Money, you know, Tony Fitzpatrick, Frank McGarvey, you know, playing against these guys again, the experience that they had and what they were bringing to us was phenomenal. And I think that's what's missing that's another topic, but I think that's what's missing in today's game. You know, the league. But getting back to St Mirren, you know, I loved my time there. I had a great time, and I loved the club. They gave me an opportunity to put myself in the shop window or be a Premier League player. But yeah, that was for me a fantastic time and something I'll never forget.
No, and can you remember the scenes when, I mean, you went back to, I think you went back to Paisley after the match. It was 5,000 line in the streets, but the following day there was, and this is the only trophy, I believe, that you were able to do an open bus stop parade as well. We
had the bus parade came through the town, and then we went to the city, which was great. There was thousands of people outside, obviously lining the streets, and then when we got to the city centre, which was great. Again, it was a fantastic time. You know, it was something that was never seen, and obviously Myra or you know, going back to some of the older players as well. You know, I think the last time they won was 57. I think. Was it? I think it's 57.
As far back as that, 30 or 40 years.
Yeah. We enjoyed and embraced again. You know, it was I keep talking about experiences, and you know, I'm such a young. I think I was 20. I think I was 20 at that time. And then obviously getting the cup and standing there on the pavilion, you know, holding the cup up to the fans was unbelievable. It was really good. Again, a fantastic reception for the crowd. So again, for a young boy to get that and stand there with the Scottish Cup, which I used to go and watch games in the Scottish Cup, and to actually lift that and score the winning goal was an amazing achievement for me, which I really enjoyed. As I said before, it's one of these things that you can only dream of, and it happens. You know, it was probably one of the worst games that I think I played in, and probably one of my worst performances for St Mirren. That day, I was so lethargic and tired. I just didn't feel I was right. I just felt really. I don't know if it was the energy or what it was, but I just felt really tired. And then Jimmy Bowen gave me a good kick up the backside that I needed time, and quite rightly so. You know, I deserved it, and you know, that sort of woke me up a little bit. When I say that woke me up, it gave me the what I needed.
Then kick on now.
Kick up the backside.
I mean, looking at the Dundee United team, Ian, I mean, God, this was a team that were in between like a two-legged tie for the UEFA Cup final, I believe. They were the Cup Winners' Cup or the UEFA Cup. They were playing Gothenburg, And I mean, the team there, I mean, you look at Billy Thompson, David Neary, Maurice Malpass, Jim McAnally, Paul Sturrock, Eamon Bannon. You can go on. I mean, that was a class team that he's played as well. But
they had some team. They were again. They were out favourites to win that. And as I always say, you know, it's about individual battles, and it's something I love in the game. You know, that team that we had, you know, compared to Dundee United on paper, you know, it was a no-brainer. Everybody expected Dundee United to come in and basically steamroll us, and they had some run at that time, as you said. They had some team, and to go up against these guys again, it's basically the cup final. Let's be honest. That's you know, they were in the European. What cup was it?
I think it was the UEFA Cup winner. It was either a UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. I think it was. Yeah.
And again, you know, it was a shame how their season petered out in regards to their efforts and because it was an absolutely phenomenal season that they had. But for us, St Mirren, at that time, you know, I always look at it, and I've always have, even now, it's who you're up against, and you in your battle in those games, you want to try and get the upper hand against who you're playing against. And every player wants to be like that, because at the end of the day, if you won your battles in 8 or 9, you've won your battles, you've only won the game. If there's 5 in there, you know, and it's no performing, then, you know, it's going to be a tough task. But I thought the boys did very well that day. We handled ourselves well. We as I said, it was a game that wasn't easy on the eye, but who cares? You know, we're talking about it so many down the line, and St Mirren's got that. They had that trophy in you know, in Paisley in the ground. It's massive. It was a massive achievement, and I don't think we actually realised it, because straight away we get whisked away to Singapore, where we played in a tournament over there. It was the next day we were rushed out from Glasgow up to Singapore, and we played in the Epsom Cup, and I think we played against Southampton in the final, and we beat them. We won that as well, which was great. So 1 and 2 cups in a week was
no bad start as a 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah, that's good.
That was just the start of it. I mean, for there, I mean, you joined Rangers. I've got down here 850,000. I thought it was $1 million, though. You probably, was it $1 million, or can you remember?
I think it was 850, the actual valuation of the transfer at that time, and then I think if you got a certain amount of caps, certain amount of games,
triggered.
$1 million is. I'm not 100% sure.
No. That's still the record fee that St Mirren have received. Yeah.
Is it? Is it still?
It's still the record fee. So there's a good one to keep in your locker there. But moving on to the Rangers, I mean, how did you find out about the Rangers' interest? Telling the family, following the move through, etc.
It was in the press. It's when I first found out, and I thought it was just paper talk, but it was never going away. It was always you get up in the morning and you're getting some calls, and then journalists would be calling you, and then you would see it in the paper again, and I eventually went in to see Alex, and I asked him, was there any truth in what was happening? And he said, look, the paper talk, just go on with it. He said, look, what's going to happen will happen, blah, 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 the usual stuff. So I just, okay, thanks for that. And then tried to get on with my football. As I said, it never went away. It went on for about 2 months, and it was affecting me. It really was. It started affecting me, because I'm thinking, you know, you only get one chance to go to Rangers, and if they cool their interest in you, then, you know, it might not happen. And it's a team I loved. It's a team I supported. It's a team where I wanted to be on that park and see they standing in terraces. For me, it was, I wanted it to happen. And St Mirren wouldn't let it happen. You know, it went on and on and on. And then eventually they tried to get me to go down south to speak to Man United. I was on my way down. I spoke to Liverpool, spoke to Tottenham. And I was on my way down to speak to Sir Alex, and I stopped the car. I just didn't want it, I didn't feel it. I just didn't feel that that's where I wanted to go. I just felt if I go down here, they're going to obviously throw everything at me and try and sign. So I stopped the car and turned the car around, and then I went back to, I phoned Alex Smith and told him, I said, I'm not going down to Man United. I said, I want to go to Rangers. It's as simple as that. And they went, that's not going to happen. So look, we had our disagreements, and we had our ups and downs. And then eventually to get to the end of it, you know, it ended up St Mirren agreed to let me go and speak to Rangers. And then after that, that was it. You know, I was higher than a kite. You know, I was going to Ibrox. Actually went to Ibrox with my St Mirren jacket on and my tie.
Never even got changed.
And then we get in there, and we were taken to Graham's room, David Holmes was there and Graham, and David Holmes basically just said to us that, this is the boss, this is the man that's running the ship, and do what he tells you, and, we'll have a good relationship. And that was it, and I loved it.
Brilliant. Eh? I mean, what a team you were joining there. I mean, they're talking about a step up. I'm just doing a few names again, but Chris Woods, John Brown, Richard Gough, Terry Butcher, David Cooper, Ian Durant, Mark Waters, Ali McCoy, Drew Wilkins, Trevor Francis, Graham Roberts. You could go littered right through that team. I mean, how does that step up feel? I mean, you've been to...
It was surreal. I walked into Ibrox and through the doors to the marble staircase, and again, it's like what everybody tells you. It's unbelievable. I'd been there before, obviously, with St Mirren and things like that. You knew what you were getting into, but to actually go in there as a Rangers player, I just felt the goosebumps, and the back of my neck, my hairs were standing. It was just amazing, and to go and train with guys like Graham Souness, Terry Butcher, Chris Woods, Gary Stevens, Ray Wilkins. It was just phenomenal. Ian Durant, Ali McCoy, as you mentioned, John Brown. These guys were heroes of mine. And if I wasn't playing football, I went and stood in the terraces watching them and supporting them. But to be on the part of going to Ibrox and into that dressing room, I still get goosebumps today. I was privileged and honoured to walk through that door nearly every single day for the 11 years that I was there.
It must be so difficult now, when you've retired and you look back on it, and you can put yourself back, obviously, to those situations, but it must just be so hard, when it just stops like that, after,
To be honest, to be there for, it was one of the hardest days, I think, that I had in football, and I'd done it on a Sunday. I'd done it on a Sunday for a certain reason. I couldn't invite everybody, because I knew I would break down. I knew it would be hard. So I went in on Sunday to collect my boots, and then obviously up to Dunfermline, but I knew that I would have to go back, and I did. I did go back when I was ready to say goodbye to everybody and have a wee chat with them. And even to this day, I still speak to a lot of people that were there, and players, ex-players that were there at that time as well. We're like a family. I was there for guys like McCoy and Durant. I get back and Brown. I run through Bomber for 7 years. These guys that you go back and I've been in Australia now for 22 years, I think it is. I go back tomorrow. It's as if nothing's been out of place. They just bring you in like nothing's happened, and the usual. The banter starts. They start slagging you straight away, and you get
brilliant.
Good boys, the guys that I will have in my life until the day I pass.
It was fantastic. I mean, I'm just looking through you joined in the February. The league was pretty much done by the time you joined that season. It was just sort of integrating you into the squad. But the following season, you won the league right away. You won the League Cup, runner-up in the Scottish Cup. I mean, you must have just felt that it was. Could you feel the momentum building even as soon as you joined Rangers?
As soon as I joined Rangers, I felt that bond. I felt part of. I think I went there, as you said, probably. I think it was February. I didn't feel part of it because I was going into a team that was already there and playing, and it's difficult. But when I got into pre-season, I really did feel part of Rangers at that point. I felt, I'm one of them now. I'm one of us. I just felt that way. It was difficult when I went in halfway through. As I said, it was getting in to play with these players. But as I said, for me, I think the biggest thing was getting through a pre-season and doing that with the boys, like kind of away with them to El Choco and obviously over to Houston Park and doing the 2 weeks there, which was great. You just start doing the morning and afternoon sessions. I just felt part of it then, and great. Got us in a circle, and I'll never forget I won't tell you what he said, but I'll never forget the talk that he had with the players. And again, it puts hairs on my arm stand up. What he said and what the demands were for Rangers and what was expected at Rangers, and I think that gave everybody a spur to obviously go on and try and win the league. I think Celtic won it the year before, and the team was, and for us to Graham to sit us down and go through everybody, and I just thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a masterclass what he did, sitting us all down and telling us what he wanted and what was expected of us, and obviously the size of the club and so on. And we went out and we won the league, which was great. I think everybody responded to it.
Yep. I mean, in that season, beat Celtic 5-1, You set like 4-1. You scored your first Old Firm game. That 5-1 game, though, you've spoken about this before, and I've seen McCoy speaking about this as well. That's 5-1. That frustrating. That was a great result, a brilliant performance, but that could have been 7, 8, 9 the way that game was going in.
That was our biggest frustration. Guys like Homer, Coy Stage and Andy. I think our biggest frustration was when we got to 5, we wanted more. We wanted to keep the tempo up. We wanted to keep creating chances. We wanted to get that 6. We wanted to get that 7. I don't think there was going to ever be another great opportunity to get that. I think there was still about 20 minutes to go when we get to 5, and then Graham come on. I remember him coming on. I think he wanted to come on and show what at that time. To be honest, and his wee back heels, his wee flicks, and the crowd would play to that. But we were buzzing. We were absolutely going crazy. we started saying, "Don't pass him. Don't pass him. Just keep going. Try and keep going for goal, and don't." He slowed things down and he took the pace of the game, and we wanted to keep going. And I think it was until obviously the final went, and I sort of thought to myself, I said, well, you know what, at the end of the day, 5-1, I'll take that.
That's not bad,
the crowd's happy, we're happy, but there was a great opportunity there to go on and get 6, and try and
that was the game that Ray Wilkins scored the volley, sorry, and that was the game that Ray Wilkins scored the volley, isn't it?
Yeah,
what was he like to play alongside?
We went 1-0 down at that time, and I think it was Chris, the boy. I can't remember his name exactly, but he put it was a free kick into the bottom corner, and then I think after that we then dominated the game, and we raised goal. I think it was a long throw in for Gary, and then a wee flick, and then basically Ray's obviously balled it right into the net, and again we're all chasing him about. I think he was at that time he was in his early 30s, and we're trying to catch him, but. He was a great player to have around the place and be playing beside. I learned so much from him, which was great. And it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. He loved Rangers. I think he was there for 2 years, and I think you see emotion when he left and what Rangers meant to him. And he always spoke very highly of the club, always very highly of the club. And again, that tells you, that's the man that's been, obviously Chelsea and then Italy and coming to Rangers and being there for 2 years. That's the effect the club has on you. When the fans obviously were brilliant to him as well, and a class player, an absolute
amazing.
Was so pleased.
So moving on to the following season, season 89-90, this was David Holmes' era came to an end, and this is when David Murray took over. And this was also the season that Rangers signed Mo Johnston. From an inside point of view, for the dressing room and being part of it all, what can you remember when Mo Johnston signed and everything that came with it?
We were getting ready to go to El Choco. I think it was a pre-season, and that's when the news broke. And it was on the radio and in the papers and things. I couldn't believe it. I just thought, I said, what's happening here? Is this real? Is it true? And obviously spoke to Coy and that and said, yeah, he's coming. And I think we Mo done it was obviously a shock. Obviously Mo was paraded. I think a week before with Billy McNeil and his wife and his kids. And some ridiculous top he was wearing, I think, and he was paraded at Celtic Park, and then for him to be obviously coming to Rangers, couldn't believe it. I think that everybody else, it's one of these moments in time you'll never forget where you were or what happened or what was going on in the world, and for Mo, I know there was obviously some fans disgruntled and not happy with it, but there was other fans, we were buying probably at that time arguably the best striker in Scotland. Scoring goals for international, was scoring goals for his team in France, and then he obviously coming here, you knew exactly what you were going to get from him. And there's one thing I will say about Mo: the amount of times the important goals that he scored in the 1-0s, massive towards us winning the league. And what I liked about Mo, he never stopped trying. He never stopped trying in the Rangers colours. So for me, that was enough, and he got accepted very quickly. With the players, and I think if anybody, to be totally honest with you, I think if anybody was going to be disgruntled or not happy with Mo signing, they would have been out the door as quick as they came in it. So it took me to get to Rangers, and it took me. There was no way I was going to let anything let me down.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, that was the season. That was the season there. We won the league. We got put out of both cups in that season by Celtic. We were beat by Celtic in the Scottish Cup, and we were beaten finalists by Aberdeen in the League Cup. Now, this was also we were out of Europe with Bayern Munich, so it was really just a league there. The change of era, and you could feel certain players were starting to leave, and things were just tightening up a wee bit. But I mean, you're looking at that was 2 in a row. We then move on to 3 in a row where Terry Butcher left. But I mean, just a wee nod to Terry Butcher. What was Terry Butcher like to play alongside as well?
Big Terry was a real captain in regards to what he demanded for you and what he wanted for you. A bit like Richard Gough. These two guys were unbelievable for me. You talk about you follow leaders. These two you would follow. You'd be in the trenches with them anytime. And these guys, I just loved them. They were fully committed. All the chips were on the table for me, and I just you feel that when you're captain, and your captain's got to be the guy that's buying into everything. For the dressing room, on the park, and what he brings to the club. And these two guys were absolutely fantastic. I love playing for the two of them. And Big Butch, as I said, England captain, Richard Gough, Scotland captain. They're there for a reason. They're leaders, born leaders, and winners. And that for me was what I loved about. Big part of Rangers was the guys that they had in there. They had winners. And again, it's very easy to follow. They led by example in training, in games, off the park, on the park. For me, that was massive, absolutely massive. And as I said, I love Big Terry. And I again, when people talk about 9 in a row, I love the start 9 in a row because that's the beginning, and the people at the start sometimes don't get spoken about. Yeah. And he's one of them that I think has got a big part, or had a big part, getting us to 4 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, you can rattle off a few players. I mean, you've got Robert Fleck, Kevin Drinkall, like you say, they all seem to be the forgotten ones, But I mean, when did 9 in a row start getting talked about, or when did you start thinking about it? Because we're sitting here at 3 in a row. I think Walter Smith took over that season, and that was the season that I think it was Hateley scored the header to win the league on the last day of the season against Aberdeen for 3 in a row.
Yeah, I never. I'll be totally honest with you. I never thought about 9 in a row until we got 8. That's a good truth. It was another league win, and my biggest thing that year was worrying about. We've got so far. You wouldn't be wanting to be the ones that got 8 but couldn't get 9. No. That for me was a big, massive pressure, honestly, to try and get that 9. As I said, once you got 8, you were basically then thinking about the 9, and that's when it came in. There was a huge amount of pressure on the squad and the boys to get that league that year, and I don't think our football was as fluent as it'd been in the past, causing that pressure. But I think the boys, we dug in at times where we had to dig in. We played some good football when we had to play good football. So again, to get the 9 was massive. And again, up at Dundee United's ground, obviously, it was a clincher of that where Charlie obviously puts the ball on with his left foot and Brian Laudrup in the box. And Brian gets that goal, and it's not just over one game, but that was a game obviously it clinched it. And then when it hit, I was in the stand at that time and seeing the amount of, I was with my big friend, Big Andy Smiley, and Big Andy pulled his hanky out, and he was crying. That's what it meant to people, and that will always stay with me as well. Was the amount of people that I've seen, happy tears, crying. We actually equalled the 9 in a row, which was amazing. Well, again, a fantastic achievement, and it's very hard to try and get through year in and year out and win championships. Because the teams get stronger, they obviously become harder opposition and so on. So you've got to maintain, you've got to try and better every year that you pull that jersey on. And you've got that winning mentality where you want to go out there and you want to win for the fans, you want to go out there and you want to win for the club and your family and so on. And that mentality we had that in abundance with players, and the boys that we had. Run about the club for the 6, 7, 8, 9, even more years. That was driven into us, and it was a good culture. It was a fantastic place to obviously be, and the new players coming in, we obviously had to try and educate them in that way, what it meant. And a lot of boys bought into it. Big George Alberts, was one. Big Amaruso was another one. Little Gattuso was another one. They just bought into what we were doing. And when you had that from the foreign players and the British type player, the Scottish, the English, was brilliant. And that, I always say that the balance was always right in the squads. If Ian Durrant was out, somebody else would come in. If I was out, Stuart McCall was there, Terry Hunt was there, Nigel Spackman was there. They're endless. The amount of players that were at Ibrox and very, very good players, but couldn't get a game. But when that one was out, for instance, Coisty was out, you had Mo Johnston. If Mo Johnston was out, you had Mark Haitley. So we had a great bunch of boys to pick from in regards to if it wasn't gone right or the gaffer could change it. But what I would say about the gaffer is I thought he always got it 99.9% correct, was the balance of the team. And that's always something that I felt that he'd done very, very well. And get the 9 championships. I know the gaffer was there at the beginning before we Graham, but he's still a massive part to get to that 4. And then when he took over himself in his own right, he created his own team and then brought in a British type, I felt, team.
And that shows when we played Leeds as well, because I think on one of the legs, I can't remember if it was a home or away, it was all Scots that were in the team and in the starting lineup. But I noticed that through Souness and Walter Smith, and whether that came from above or whether that came from just their own personal choice, but there's always Scottish players getting signed every summer. There was a Scottish player, whether it was Alec Cleland or whether it was, you could go through it, but there was always that influx of Scottish players that came in and were took under, obviously, your wing. And actually, I think it meant something for them to say, right, we're playing for Rangers now, and you could see the difference. Saying it was mental times. I mean, that was the next season there when we went on to 4 in a row. Again, won the league. Hearts finished second, beaten in the semi-final, Scottish League Cup. And we won the Scottish Cup. That was the year we beat Airdrie after we knocked Celtic out in the semi-final. Now, that was also the season that a few of the foreigner rule came in, three foreigner rule, and that affected a few of the English players. But again, looking at that, we signed Andy Goram, David Robertson, Stuart McCall, Andy Goram as well. How do you compare Andy Goram to Chris Woods? I mean, they're two very different goalkeepers, but superb goalies, eh?
Absolutely. You've obviously got England's number 1 and you've got Scotland's number 1. Me again, that rule sort of put, I think obviously the manager at that time would be looking for that. If you're going to play a foreigner or the 3-player rule, then he didn't want to be a goalkeeper. So Andy Goram being available, I think at that time with Hibs and brought in Andy. And I've worked with 2 of them, and the 2 of them are outstanding goalkeepers and top quality goalkeepers. As I said, you don't play for England or Scotland if you're if you're a bad goalkeeper. And I think that was the only reason why Chris obviously left was because of that 3 foreigner rule. And brought in Andy. And look, I'll be honest, I played with Andy I think for 6-7 years, and without doubt, one of the best, and I mean this, world class goalkeeper. He was up there with your Schmeichels and at that time, and Andy Goram. I can't speak highly enough of him. I thought he was one of the best. Technically, with his feet, brilliant. Hands, shot stopping, corners, free kicks. He'd always come out into the pack and help the defence. He had everything. He had quality. He was just absolute quality. And as I said, that for me, world class. I think Andy Goram. What I've seen in training, what I've seen in games, the best. Hodgie, the goalkeeping coach, has got a big part to play in that as well. He'd done a fantastic job with Andy day in and day out. Wouldn't it always be games or there'd be training? Andy would be away with Hodgie, and they would be away doing their stuff along with the other goalkeepers, guys, and Hodgie put them through their paces. But as I said, I without doubt, the best goalkeeper I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. David Robertson says the exact same. I was speaking to him a month or so back, and he was saying the exact same. He says, especially for 2 or 3 seasons, he says he was the best goalkeeper in Europe, but a mile away, he says it was just playing in Scotland didn't get him the recognition that he maybe felt he should have. What a goalkeeper.
As I said, I can't highly enough for Andy. I thought Andy was one of the best goalkeepers. You know what, again, And a big part is achieving what we achieved, because again, you look down at the Ellen Road when we played Leeds United down there. Without doubt, that game could have went another way with another goalkeeper where you get smashed.
Yeah.
His saves were unbelievable that night. But long distance, 6-yard box to outside the box, he'd done everything. He had one of the best games I think I've ever seen a goalkeeper have. And down to Andy Goram. And not just on that occasion, I remember the Van Hooijdonk header and the 6-yard box. I remember the penalty saves that he'd done as well. You could just keep going. Andy's highlight reels could be, you could sit and watch him for the amount of times he was there, easily a couple hours. That's how good he was.
Brilliant. I mean, the next season, sorry, Ian, I've got glitched a wee bit there. Sorry, on you go.
No, I'm just saying Andy was one of again, can't speak highly enough, and one of the best goalkeepers I've ever seen. You just trusted him. You just knew that if it was going to be, if they did get by the defence, that it was going to be even harder to get by Andy Goram. That was the trust you had in the goalie and what you felt. You felt when you were out in the park, from the goalie through to Hateley and McCoy's name, you just felt that you were going to win. You just knew that you were going to win because of the quality of player we had.
And it didn't matter. I mean, the amount of Old Firm games that I watched during that time, where we got absolutely pummeled. But I think eventually it got to the stage that I got inside the Celtic players' heads, because they were playing against Rangers and they were constantly attacking. Goram was pulling off saves. One chance McCoy would score and you walked away with a 1-0 victory. And I think after time that kind of got inside the heads a wee bit.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. We sometimes, I think it's no secret that Celtic would play some of the better football. But Celtic never had what we had. We could take the pressure in games for a certain amount of time, and then boom, Laudrup would score. Boom, McCoy would score. Boom, Hateley would score. That was the difference. We had goal scorers and we defend for long periods and make it difficult for Celtic. They would play the nice football outside and get probably 3/4 of the park, but it was difficult to try and obviously break down the defence in the midfield and then, as I said, Andy Goram. But you had that X factor going forward. You had a Gascoigne, you had an Ian Durant, you had Brian Laudrup, you had a Mark Hateley. There's goals everywhere from third, and they would create them and they would score. If we created four good chances, there's every chance that 2 or 3 of them are going to go in the goal, and that's what happened. Celtic would get all the plaudits for playing the nice football, but we walked away with the points, and that was, as you said, probably in their heads as well. No matter what they did, they couldn't break us down.
And I remember Tommy Burns saying that, the late Tommy Burns saying that as well regarding Andy Goram, but saying how much he broke his heart, because it's like you say, I mean, they gave everything and they played some cracking football, but they just couldn't walk away with the victories. And I think that, again, running now that we're reaching 5 in a row, that's when the mentality started to kick in. I think they had an element of doubt too, saying, are we going to stop this team, eh?
I think every team was like that. I think, not just Aberdeen were the same. I think at that time, Aberdeen were probably our biggest rivals, rather than Celtic.
I think 92, 93, sorry, aye.
So I think Aberdeen finished second a few times days in the Cups and in the league. So I think every team always, there was a fear factor there. There's no doubt about it. There was a fear factor. As I said, look, for us going on to the park, we felt confident. We felt, as I've said to you earlier on there, that you knew you were going to win. You mentioned there, I think it was a 4 in a row. The last game against Aberdeen. I don't know how. I really don't know how, but I was so confident going into Ibrox that we were going to win that day. All Aberdeen, and I'm saying all they needed, but Aberdeen needed a draw to the league. Now, that game was unbelievable. I remember running out to do my warm-up with the rest of the boys, and the feeling I got, I knew we were, I don't know how, I just knew we were going to win. There was no way we were going to beat Ibrox. There was no way that crowd was going to not get behind us, and they were brilliant. They were brilliant for the word go. As soon as you went out, you get you just felt that. You just felt in the air. It was good. It was, this is a feel-good fact. It just felt brilliant. And I don't, as I said to you, I know I'm repeating myself, but I just don't know how I knew we were going to win, but we did win. And that game, and itself. You know, you had guys like Mark Hateley back in the midfield. You had Terry Hurley fullback. You had John Brown get carried off, blew his leg up. But Bomber, again, that just shows you the type of player we had. Bomber knew that his leg was going to go at some point, that his calf was going to explode. And, you know, he gave us everything. And again, that just sums up the type of player we had at Ibrox. We were never going to get beat. And I remember I think I was the only player that day that never got moved. I think everybody else moved. Tom Cowan ended up getting off with a broken leg. John Brown went off. And then it was patchwork, trying to get players to play certain positions. And I think Mo ended up, I think Mark went to centre half, and then I think Mo came back into midfield with me. And honestly, it was unbelievable. But again, it showed you the type of player we had. We weren't going to give up.
No.
We were going to keep going regardless of who was playing where or whatever. And even through that time, when everybody get changed, I don't think Aberdeen had any great amount of chances. Again, we were 2-0 up, and I didn't feel under any real pressure. The only thing that did change, as I said, was the personnel getting into different positions.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference now. I mean, you know, it's different times, obviously, but half of that, I mean, I spoke again in regards with David, I think it was David Robertson or David McPherson. They were saying that they took injections and everything through the knees. He says, and he feels it now. He says, obviously, it's a bit different for yourself being in a warmer climate, but he says he feels it, especially in the winter. He says his knees, his hips, he says he wouldn't change it. He says, but these are the sacrifices that you made it because you were scared that if you didn't make the decision and you didn't show yourself, somebody would come in and replace you all the time, he says, and you always had that fear, eh?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, I think, with the size of the squad at Rangers. I think I mentioned earlier on to you the calibre of player that was sitting on the bench. You know, you knew if you had a niggle, you kept quiet. If you had a little feeling in your leg or your calf was tight or something, you kept quiet. You didn't say anything. You just got on. And that was the type of, again, I go back to that type of player we have. You know, there was guys that were, as I said, I knew John Brown's calf was going to explode. And that's exactly what happened. But Bomber knew that was going to happen. So again, that type of player. So you wanted to be in the team. And these were moments that, again, like to win the league, you had to win that day. And players would put themselves in the line, taking injections for their knees, their ankles, their groins, and so on. And that was part of the norm. You know, as you said, if you were in that team and it was a winning team, it was probably harder to get out of it. But if you went out with an injury, it was harder to get back in again. And I know that through myself with my injuries that I had. Just again with my back and everything else, it was tough to try and get back in there. But you had to go out and train and work hard and do what you done at training and show the gaffer that you wanted to be back in that team. And there could be another way. You could go and throw your dummy out of the pram and the gaffer wouldn't entertain that. He wouldn't, you know, and I think that was right. You know, yeah, you went out through an injury. You need to work to get back in. The team's winning. What do you want me to do? Perfect. Like, okay. Well, you had to go and work and bide your time. When you got that opportunity, you had to take that opportunity. So I know exactly what Davey and the two Davies are saying, and John Brown in regards to their injuries, because it was a. What I loved about Ibrox was the competitiveness in training, and not just in training, but in the games. The training was, for me, which summed everything up at Ibrox. There was fights nearly every week. You know, that's how competitive it was. You know, there was arguments, there was fights, there was disagreements. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. Our first squad, and that was part of us growing up. It's partly because we had winners. We had winners. And guys that wouldn't accept second best, they never, you know, second best wasn't ever mentioned. It was all, we want to win. Regardless who we played, and I mean this, regardless who we played, we always felt there would be a chance with the squad that we'd got. There'd always be you're going to win them all, and I get that. You're not going to win. But we never went out with that mentality, thinking, I never anyway, ever think we're going to get.
No, I think there's a lot of characters missing around Rangers as well. I mean, I could make a nod towards Jimmy Bell, and everybody talks about sort of what Jimmy brought to Rangers and that. And he's never been, I mean, it's hard to replace somebody like that, but he's never been replaced either. He must be a massive void around the club now as well, along with, you know, obviously there's no a lot of Rangers men, I've always said that, around the club recently, and I think that plays a part, eh?
Jimmy was brilliant, you know, and wee Doddy, you know, when I first went in there, Jimmy and Doddy were the two guys that looked after us, to be honest. You know, these guys got us the strips, got us the boots, got us our trainers, you know, done everything for us, got us our chocolate when we went away to hotels. But we Jimmy was quite a hard person, yeah, no, but he was very, very shrewd, Jimmy. He was very, very clever. You know, you had to go to Jimmy, no Jimmy coming to you. And I thought wee Jimmy was brilliant. You know, as I said before, his boys were McCoist and Jenan. You know, they were the two boys. They looked after him. He looked after us all.
Had his favourites.
No, they were there well before any of us were there. So you could see that bond with them. Wee Jimmy, wee Durante would always take care of him. McCoist would always take care of him as well, you know, when we were on away trips and things like that. But and the other side of that, Jimmy looked after us for, I was just under 12 years, I think. And he was just Rangers through and through. He just loved the club. Even, you know, when a goal went in, it was like him scoring the goal when you seen him celebrate. And at the end, it was like Jimmy winning the cup when we got the cup, you know, whether it's on the park or where it was at Ibrox. You could just see that glow on his face. And wee Doddy as well, you know, they loved the club. It was just, again, Rangers fans being part of the Rangers culture, the Rangers family. Yeah. These guys were brilliant. You know, I couldn't speak highly enough of Jimmy and wee Doddy. I thought the two of them, whatever we needed, they'd done for us. It's like everything else. You're spoiled at Ibrox. You really are. You're spoiled. You've got so many good people there that, you know, if you needed something, you just had to ask and it would be done. Yeah. And Bell's one of them. And so was wee Doddy. I love the two of them. I love them so much. They were brilliant for us. All the European trips, again away to hotels, obviously at Ibrox and different things. A lot of great memories with them, and it was great. You know, there was. I don't know if you want to tell me a story about it.
Aye, please.
At that time, I didn't drink, so I was. We went away to the hotel, and the gaffer took us away, and the boys were brilliant. You know, McCoist was with Durant, Bob was with me, and so on. Jimmy was with Doddy, and at that, it was the end of the trip, and they took us away. I think it was Glen Eagles they took us to. I'm not too sure exactly the place, but the bills came out, and it was brilliant. And I always remember, and the gaffer's going through, right, you need to pay your bills, guys. I went, right, okay, guys. So me and Bomber, I think it was 20 quid or something, soft drinks and some food. And then it was Mark Haitley, and Big Mark loves his champagne and so on. So their bill was about 200 and something. It came to wee Jimmy and Doddy, and 3,425.
What the fuck?
Boys had been for their bills, or their drinks.
Just put on Jimmy's. There was a gun off his nut.
Jimmy didn't know what to do. It was brilliant. And, yeah, the gaffer knew what was going on, but that's what their bill came to. So it just shows you the amount of drink that the boys had that night.
Just with that, unreal.
God, how good's that? 3,425 quid.
Something like that. But again, it's all part of the camaraderie that was within the squad, within the club, everything that went through it. I mean, fantastic. I mean, we're moving on to Ian. I'm going to move on to 6 in a row now, right? So we're looking at season 93-94. Won the league, won the League Cup, and beaten Scottish Cup finalist by Dundee United. That was the season that we signed Duncan Ferguson, though. I mean, what was Duncan Ferguson like when he came in? He's absolutely mad.
Big Duncan, Big Duncan, brilliant.
Great player.
I thought Duncan was harshly dealt by the police and the SF. I felt it was all blown out of proportion, and he didn't deserve what he got. To be honest with you, coming in to play for us was a massive signing. But I thought him and Big Mark were very similar type players. I think it was, if I'm being totally honest, and I think in everybody's head, it was that Duncan was going to eventually replace Big Mark further down the line, and then we had that type of player, to carry on. But it never worked out that way. Unfortunately, Duncan had more problems off the park than what he did on the park, and then obviously what happened with SFA and the police, I thought was disgusting. It should never have been charged and put in prison. It was just ridiculous.
And the ban on top of that as well. I mean, it was like a double punishment. It was making an example, I think. Yeah.
I think he took that one to court, and I think he won that. I don't think he actually any suspensions. But what it done was basically stopped his career at Rangers. He's obviously went to prison and came out, and that's horrendous for anybody or any person. He was a footballer first and foremost, and he wasn't used to that lifestyle. He wasn't one of these guys that was in and out of jail. He was a guy that gets sent to jail for just basically tapping, somebody's head. Putting the heads together.
Worst things happen in Glasgow every weekend.
No, it was terrible. I just thought disgusting, and again, I just felt that obviously hampered his career. But I'll tell you what a career he had when he went down south. Missed. We missed. We still had Big Mark, but that's what the Rangers fans would have got for Big Duncan. His and his goals and his power and his strength. He was just a big unit that I think most of them feared. And as I said, I would love to have seen him more in a Rangers strip than what he got. Then eventually I think him and Durante went down to Everton to go trial down there, and I think Durante come back and Big Duncan obviously signed for Everton.
We got the money back. I'm sure it was like 4 million or something. Then they got the money back for Duncan Ferguson as well.
Got the money back, but when you look at Big Duncan's career and what he done down there, phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. As I said before, he done well. A lot of people feared him. He was a big unit. He scored goals. He gave you all. His heart was on his sleeve, regardless of where he went. He went Newcastle, Everton. He's one of the guys that would give you everything, and you knew that. And I think that's why the club went and got him. But I think what's obviously derailed him was obviously going to prison and things like that. Which again, I'll go back and say it was absolutely disgusting.
For a football player for that to ended up, I mean, that's obviously what's made him into sort of the tough character he is now. Obviously, he's had no choice but to, adapt to that. But moving on, Ian, right? We're moving on to 7 in a row. Is this when you're starting to notice the trebles aren't getting chased? It's just the league now. We're at 5 in a row, 6 in a row, 7 in a row. The full focus, as much as you want to win every cup and every game, the full focus was on the league then. We signed a certain Brian Laudrup. I mean, what was Laudrup like as a player for your side?
I think first and foremost, I think the league is your bread and butter. That's the one that gets. That's the one that, obviously, as you said, we're at 7 in a row. We want to keep winning that. That's the main prize in Scottish football is to win that league. But I think, again, what the gaffer does, he brings in players at certain times, and bringing in Brian Laudrup and I think Basil Bolly. I think was Bolly coming in.
There was also Alan McLaren and again the Scottish links, Alec Cleland. I thought Cleland and McLaren were brilliant signings as well. A pair of them were fantastic.
Absolutely, and bringing them in to freshen it up as well, and younger players as well, which was great. Brian had the experience. I think he won the Euros. I think he'd won the European Cup as well. And bringing him in, we all knew about him. But when you bring him in and you see him in training and you see him and go, oh my God, how good is this guy's on our level? It's phenomenal. Brian was one of these guys that could win you a game single-handedly, just give him the ball and let him go and do what he does. And he could assist in goals, he could score goals. And it was always exciting. What I loved about Brian Laudrup was there could always be an end product. There could always be something at the end of Brian when he gets on the ball. And that is very difficult nowadays. When you see players, they might take about 20, 30 touches and nothing happens. Brian took 20, 30 touches, magic happened. He could score the assisting goals. He'd get a great cross in and it might be a miss. But there was always something for Brian. And I just felt, he was a top player. Very good player.
I can remember when he first signed, there seemed to be a hush around Rangers for about the first 3 or 4 games of the season before they fully unleashed what Brian Laudrup was. And it must have been watching him in training. You must have been like, what have we got here as a player?
It was in training. I used to call him the hernia maker because he would go one way, you'd go the other way. That was it. Brian was he had a balance, and he's got this big backside. He just bumps you out the way, and again, pace over 10 yards was frightening. He just got away. And again, you had to be careful around Brian. You didn't want to kick him at training.
I could imagine Water watching that.
On you, exactly. But Brian was probably given a free roll at training, and we all knew just to try and just let him play. But But you also tried to be honest. You also tried to stop him at times. Possible. That's how good a player he was. You know that was again. You talk about world class players. You know, he was in that bracket of close to that bracket. You know, I just felt he was a different level. I just felt looking at what he did.
He's been recognised for that. I mean, he's greatest ever Ranger and Hall of Fame like yourself and that as well. But I mean, that must make you so proud of the players that you're connected with in that Hall of Fame. Coming through as a Rangers supporter and to be playing with these players, I mean, it's only now that you look back, these are world-class players that you were playing with. Probably playing in Rangers' most successful time in my lifetime anyway, yeah. Certainly.
Arguably, people do say that, that's arguably a successful time or period in Rangers history. But again, you look at the players, as you said, your Laudrups and all these, and your McCoys, your Hatelys and so on, and your Durants and your Browns, and Big Dave McPherson. I keep going back and going through them all. There's that many players that came through that door. I think it was something like 110 or something through the 9-in-a-row period. And to have guys that were there for 6, 7, 8, 9, it tells you a lot about them in regards to what kind of characters they are, and they got that mentality. And Laudrup coming through, obviously was one of these guys that just, as I said, I just felt Brian could win you games every time he touched the ball. He done something special, and it wasn't always just about him doing that. It would take pressure off you. It would take the ball away for a run, away wide on the left, or he would come in inside and switch a play and so on. He'd done a lot of good things, and rather than what we all see him praise him for in regards to him taking on men, scoring goals and stuff. He was very clever, Brian, and I think he was one of these players who just, if you want to be braver, boom, there you go, Brian.
I'm tired of it a wee bit. But I mean, is he the best player you've ever played with? Do you reckon?
I get asked this question in regards to the best you've played with. I look differently at things. I look like Brian. Obviously, was a wide player. Then you've got McCoy, that was a goal scorer. Then you had Gascoigne, that was a midfield. I look at them all differently in regards to what they can all do. And look, Brian couldn't do what McCoy did, and McCoy couldn't do what Brian did. I couldn't do what Richard Gough did, at the back and so on. And so I look at all the different qualities, and it's very difficult to say, is he the best player you've seen or the best player you've played against? Because I was, as you mentioned there, all the players, I was blessed when I was at Ibrox for so long, and to see the revolving door where people came in and then left so quickly, and then there was people that actually were there a lot longer and so on. So it was difficult. I think everybody that was going through that period had different qualities. And I'm not trying to avoid your question.
No.
There was different people that had different qualities, as I said before, and I loved Alan McCoy, because Alan McCoy could just again win you a game out of nothing. Brian Laudrup could win you a game out of nothing. Hateley the same, Gascoigne the same, Durant the same. So I don't like trying to
single it.
Pick one guy. I think there were so many different players there that showed so many different qualities. To say, even Gordon Jury is another one that comes to mind. The goals that Jury scored. And
well, that season, that was the fight. Remember, that was the season where beat Hearts 5-1. It was classed as a Laudrup final. Gordon Jury got a hat trick that game. It was amazing, but it was all about Laudrup. He always went under the radar, Gordon Jury, a wee bit.
I think so. And again, he's one of these guys that came in at the right time. Again, the gaffer brought him in. And then I remember him, I think his first goal was against Motherwell, if I remember correctly. And again, Gaffer brought him in, freshened it up, right time. And that was something I thought the Gaffer did really well. He just brought people in, as you mentioned, Alan McLaren there, and Alex Cleland, and Gary Bowen, I think, as well, was another one that came in at that time. So he freshened things up and basically brought these players in. And for me, he knew when to do it, because you could feel as though it was getting a wee bit stale, and then it would bring new players in, and it just freshened the whole place up, gave everybody that lift, and again it just it went on strength to strength, to be honest.
I mean, there's so many signings in that season, Ian. Gordon Petric, Oleg Salenko, Derek McInnes, Van Vossen, Eric Boe Anderson, Theo Snelders. I mean, all class players, but there's also a mix of some of them that have actually played. I mean, Gordon Petric played in the Scottish League for a long time. McInnes came through. I remember McInnes, I'm sure, was signed to Morton or 100,000. What a signing McInnes was as well. Another one that played in amongst all that, but what a player he was, Derek McInnes, eh?
Yeah, Derek came in and done a great job. We never asked of him and starting and so on. And I think Derek is probably another one that doesn't get the plaudits that he probably deserves, because he came in really important games and well for the club. So yeah, no, he was definitely again another midfielder who you're battling with to try and stay in that place. And again, Derek was a good Rangers man that came in and bought into again the Rangers family. And did very well whenever he was. I don't think he let us down at any time. No. He was either to start or when he came off the bench. He was a player that gave his all. Again, another Scottish boy, which was great. I feel as though we're sadly lacking that at the moment. Obviously the current team. I just would like to stick and start getting more Scottish players, a British type player in to the club. Yep. Derek, sorry, I know I went off topic there.
No, you're fine. But you're right. I mean, I noticed this as well, and you're noticing it from an inside point of view, if you've been inside Rangers and seen everything. But I can see this from a fan's point of view, and from the top of the club right down to the bottom. It's not something that's done intentionally, but there's so much missing for even the attitude of the players. I speak to guys like yourself and that have played in that era, and the mentality just seems so much different. And I don't know whether that's just a generational thing now, the way people are brought up and all social media, but certainly there's so much missing, and you can see it with a lot of clubs at the moment. Eh?
I think I think what's missing is the Rangers fan. Was a big part of what I was brought up with through my time, and I mean this when we first, even the security at the front door, Stan and Peter were Rangers men. Tiny Irene and so on. The girls upstairs were Rangers people. When you went over, wee Bob Riley sadly passed away. God love him. Rest his R.I.P. for wee Bob. It was a good Rangers man, and I think we're missing that. We're missing that Rangers connection, which I felt even in the Rangers ticket office. It was all Rangers people, and as I keep thinking back about the family, the Rangers family, that's a special time. When we had that, and then it obviously changes, where again it's as you said, whoever they bring in or whatever they are. I just felt at that time when I first joined Rangers, probably first 4 or 5 years, 6 years, it was all Rangers people that were in Ibrox, and it just felt different. It felt special. It felt good. I've been away 22 years now. I don't know what it is in regards to all the jobs that people are doing and what they are and who they support. And I just know that was a special time, and the people in Ibrox at that time were all Rangers family at that time.
And there's definitely that missing. Eh? Could I just ask you, just before we move on to 9 in a row, what was Paul Gascoigne like when he came in? And I mean, how he mingled and mixed in with that dressing room? Eh?
Listen, I think the people that run the dressing room are certainly the characters that we had there was Durant and McCoist. Yeah. And then when they came in, they were like, well, he was the icing on the cake, to be honest. Gascoigne was just as daft as they two. The pranks and everything that was getting done, where you actually wish that Gascoigne never got injured, because when he got injured, he was left behind, and you would come back, and your boots would be nailed to the floor. You would have somebody else's car keys in your pocket. You would have socks on your shoes. So everything was getting done. And then I think he up push into people's cars.
That was the one that McCoy says. He said that was a different level when he done that.
McCoy is right. He's a genius. Who would think of putting 2 fish in? You put one in, he's going to think that's it. But there's another one sitting in the booties. But that was Gascoigne. He was always doing something. He was always up to something. And you could never trust him. Never trust him. Even with me, he done me when I was getting the photo taken. Our team photo. And
with the chair, that's right.
Takes on the back of me and throws it away. And you can only laugh. He's always doing something. He's always thinking ahead, or he's always wanting to do something to somebody. I remember him as well. He had this little remote control, and he put it on the table, But the speaker thing was no remote control. He had some gadget with him that it was like a microphone, but the speaker was in the gaffer. So he would be coming in, and then he would talking about people. He would be saying, "What do you think of David Murray? What do you think of this? What do you think?" What gaffer? But the gaffer was sitting listening to him.
I mean, again, though, you're not just buying the player, you're buying the personality as well. And I mean, Gaza said that himself. He said if he could relive the 2-3 years that he was with Rangers, the dressing room, everything that came with it, he says it was nothing like it, nothing compared to.
And he was a big part of that. He was a big part of that. You know, the fun behind everything. As I said, you had the usual characters in regards to McCoist and Durant, but then the next level came in, and you know, it was obviously a lot of the pranks and what was going on, but. You know, off the park, an absolute gentleman. I couldn't speak highly enough of Gascoigne. The generosity that he's got and what he does for people, and you know, probably I know a lot of it gets told, but he was very, very generous with a lot of people, and very nice to a lot of people. And again, he obviously his football does its talking on the park. You know, I think we get the best of him. I think the best of Paul Gascoigne at Rangers, where he loved his football, enjoyed his football. He was free. He was basically just felt as if he was free. And there wasn't a lot of press on him in England or maybe in Italy. But when he came here, he just felt free. You could see it. It just the weight lifted off him, and his performances were another. And again, it could win you a game out of nothing. You know, his hat trick against Aberdeen to win. I think won the league that year was absolutely one of the best hat tricks you'll ever see. Phenomenal. But again, can't have enough of the guy. Absolutely amazing.
So can we just go on to just as we're about to come through in clinching 9 in a row, there was a game at Parkhead as well that you had a wee bit of fallout with DiCanio, but you got inside his head that game, big time,
Yeah, look, I think when you look back on it, and look, my job was obviously, if you remember, I think the week before they beat us 2-0, I think it was at Parkhead, and I think DiCanio was the one that was running the show at that time. And we sort of had a wee plan in regards to, you know, try and show him inside rather than down the line, blah, 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 and so on. And, you know, if he went by Durant, then he would be onto McCall, and then if it was onto McCall, then he's onto me, and if it's by me, then it's Richard Goff. And so on. So we tried to minimise that threat from DiCanio. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a better player than DiCanio. You know, DiCanio on his day is a Brian Laudrup. He's there, Brian Laudrup, for what Brian Laudrup is for us. You know, he was a very good player, a player that could win games. So we had to stop him. And what was the best way to stop him was to try and niggle him, try and get in his head, try and take the focus off him. As a player, and that worked. You know, I was getting involved with him, I was pushing him about, I was getting in his face, and he didn't like it. So I was, well, got him here, we sort of got him on the hook, so keep going. And that's what happened. He said he was going to break my leg, or he was going to see me, so I said to him I'd see him in the tunnel. And as you actually watch the game, I actually see me going to him and saying, right, let's go. And then he makes a big hullabaloo in front of everybody. And I'm not getting involved in that, because that would have, look, if kicked off up the tunnel, that's great, and we're inside, nobody sees that, whoever's there, that sees it. But it never materialised that way. He started doing things in front of everybody, and I went, nah, I'm not going to get that. So, yeah, that's the job done, 1-0 for Rangers. And as far as I'm concerned, I know it wasn't official, but that was a big part. Was when 9 in a row was clinched.
Yep. And I mean, that must have been one of the best games you played in that. I mean, because there was only someone, mind you, back then, I mean, there was, what was it, 3,000 or 7,000 Rangers fans in there at the time, You had that wee corner, You can remember that,
You know, this stadium was full, obviously, a big horseshoe with the Celtic fans in it, and it's that wee 5,000-6,000 that's in that corner. You heard them the whole game. And again, brilliant for us in the park, you know, that I've always said it, and I think it's great when you go to Parkhead and you've got that atmosphere, and it's great. They hate you, they don't want you to win, and beauty of the Old Firm games, you know, we want to win. You know, they absolutely despise us, and to go there and win, you know, there's nothing better getting off that park with a big smile on your face and then seeing that 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 all cheering, dancing, and singing.
It's crazy when you look back. I mean, it must seem like a lifetime ago. When you're looking back now and you're talking through it and all that, but you can put yourself right back there as well.
Oh, it's like yesterday. You know, I know it's a long time ago, but it's like you remember the memories like yesterday. You know, and their part of the memories is that 1-0 win. Again, I think we had a lot of injuries and suspensions.
I'm sure Andy Double. That was when Andy Double and Haley were signed for that. Was that the game they were signed for as well?
Yeah. And to get the 1-0 win there was absolutely amazing. After getting beat, I think it was 2-0 to beat us in the cup the week before, and we had a lot of problems in regards to personnel. So again, it was like a makeshift, patched up. But again, shows you the desire and the hunger and the determination that we had, and to go out and get a 1-0 victory when it really, really mattered. That to me was, as I said, I know it's not official, but that to me cemented 9 in a row.
I've spoke to Andy Double, and Andy Double says to me, he says that my whole career, he says in nine games that I was with Rangers, he says I've never experienced anything like it. This is a goalie that's been all over England with a variety of teams, but it was like I was just waiting on him pulling off the Andy Goram mask after that game because he was fantastic in that. I mean, what a performance!
Treble done brilliant for us. You know, he came in and again he came in and done a great job. You know, he wasn't phased. He didn't panic. He whatever he dealt with. And I think he had a great save as well. A couple of good saves in that game. Again, another goalkeeper that you could trust. You just feel safe. He's a big unit. You know, I think he was 6'4" or something. And you know, he obviously took care of his goals, which we wanted. But yeah, look, coming into that again for obviously somebody coming from down south. I don't think he was playing. I think he was in the reserves with I think Archie and the gaffer got him, and he came in and done a fantastic job. So again, they picked well. They picked a good goalkeeper, and they came in and done a great job. And to walk away from Parkhead with a 1-0 win, you know, I know really says everything. It was brilliant.
It's fantastic. And I mean, then we went on to clinch 9 in a row, like you said, at Tannadice it was. I can remember a game before it though, where there was a right arse it made. If I'm honest, it was Motherwell we were playing. Was it no way?
Yeah,
and who was it that scored? There was 2 goals. I want to say was it Owen Coyle that scored the 2 goals.
Coyle.
Aye, yeah. Can remember that. And after all that, and then to go to Tannadice, I think it was a Wednesday night or something like that.
Well, we were all. It was going to be a celebration, and unfortunately, it was a kick in the guts, as you said.
That's right. You can remember it well.
I don't know, maybe the expectation, or again, think it was going to be easy. Think we're going to go out and get the points. Think we're going to have a party. You know. We got what we deserved, and that was a kick in the backside. And then we obviously got on the Wednesday to Tannadice and get the victory. Again, it was a tough game. You know, Dundee United made it very tough for us. And as I said, wee bit of genius from Charlie Miller, whose left foot into Brian, who again, it's normally the opposite way round.
Yeah.
Runs for midfield, and Brian would be out there. But for Laudrup to score with his head was such unbelievable.
I don't think he'd ever done it before. No, the following season though, when that was the end of the era. Then I mean, that you seen a lot of players leaving. Then I mean, Gough, Robertson, Haley, John Brown, Gascoigne, Trevor Stephen. Did McCoist leave at that time as well? Was that this? Did McCoist go to Kilmarnock that season?
He went to Kilmarnock, yeah.
And this is the season.
Very sad time. It was like your family was leaving you, and you were left in the house. That's the only way I can describe that. We're moving on, and so many great memories with these guys, and then moving on. But yeah, look, you know, Mr. Advocaat came in and you know, rebuilt the squad and brought in some good players, brought in some excellent players, to be honest. And you know, it couldn't have worked out any better for him. You know, that season again was a season that sticks in my head for certain reasons. The treble. Obviously, I had my injuries again. My ankle was badly damaged in training, and I had to go and get an operation. And for me, I was out for about 4 or 5 months, and it was a long time. And then I eventually get back in. Well, the team was still playing and winning the cup, sitting top of the league, sitting top of the league. And it was going to be very difficult for me to try and get back in. I realised that. But what I did do was just kept quiet, just kept low key, started doing my training, started building myself back up again. And the gaffer then seen me obviously train, and he asked me to come. It was a Scottish Cup final. He asked me to come with the team, and I thought that was a nice gesture because I'm one of the longest serving players. Come with feel part of it, and I thought that was brilliant. I really did. I thought, you know what, he's wanting to be part of what's going on rather than just leaving me and turning a blind eye. He took me to the hotel, done all the training, done everything, and then out the blue, we're sitting in the morning. We went a walk, and then we're sitting we come back in, and the gaffer got everybody down, and he said, "Look, guys, this is the team." He says, went through the team, told them the team, and he said, "And here's who's on the bench." And I went, "Okay." So I wasn't even listening. I'll be totally honest with you, I was not listening. And he's went through the team, and then he's went to the subs, and he went, "Ferguson, did he say my name?" I said, "Did he say it? I'm on the bench." And the player I was asking was Jonathan Johansson. Jonathan was the one that got dropped out the squad. I didn't realise that until after the game, that Jonathan was left out. So yeah, that to me was everything to me, if that makes sense, because treble. You know, I played a part in the League Cup final. I played a part in the league, and then obviously I'm going to go on for the last 20 minutes against, with Rod Wallace's goal. So to get a treble, and basically it was my final game, and being brought in, I'd been out for 4 months, which I had no expectations. I had nothing. I basically knew that this was coming to an end, and then the gaffer mentioned me obviously in to be on the bench, and then to put me on for 20 minutes and get another treble was unbelievable. Love him for what he'd done there. One was he took me. He obviously was out for 4 months. Two, he took me into obviously train. Then he took me away to the hotel, and then obviously put me on the bench. He trusted me to put me on the bench that I'd be ready. So again, it was brilliant. So great way to end the season, which was brilliant.
That was 2 trebles you got in.
Trebles, yeah. And then I started to hate him. He took us away to America, and I was actually in America. So I said to him, "Could we meet you there?" And he said, "No, come home. I'm 2 minutes away from the training ground where you're going to be training us. Can I?" And he went, "No." He said, I want the whole team to fly together." Right. So he brought me to America, back to Glasgow, took me back to America. Can point to that. What was the point? And then I found out Gabriel Amato was away to a wedding, which I wasn't happy with as well. But others here, I said, "You made me come to America to fly back and then fly." And then you read that usual, "You just do what I tell you."
Yeah, different level manager.
He didn't see eye to eye in the end, but I think he brought back. I think he gave me, as I said, my second treble, which I'll always be very grateful for.
Yeah, yep. I mean, talking about Dick Advocaat, you moved on for Rangers then, but then, I mean, what another quality manager you worked under, and God rest his soul, because he just passed, and he was so loved. I'm a local guy for round about Dunfermline, and you signed for Dunfermline, and Jimmy Calder with it.
It was so sad when I got a text from Yvonne, his wife, and lovely family, and just said, "God rest his soul." And you know, we've lost a lot of good people, and for Jimmy to go as well was a bit of a shock in regards to you know, obviously another manager that I had, and he's a top guy, honest as the day goes by, honest to God. Spade's a spade with him, and he'll tell you as it is, and I love that about him. Again, I love that about all my managers. All my managers have been very good.
Very fortunate.
But he was a very good coach. Knew the game, knew his stuff, knew what he wanted from you. And if you didn't give him it, he would be the first one on your case. So I love that type of manager. I love that type of thing. What they want, what they want to do with the shape, the formation, what your roles are, and so on. So yeah. I had a brilliant time at Dunfermline. I loved it. It was great. You know, my last game at Dunfermline was against Rangers. That was my very last. Again, and a great way to finish.
Did you not have the half and half T-shirt that game? At the end of the game, you had the half and half T-shirt.
Thank the Rangers fans, the best fans in the world. The 9-1 memories, and then I had the top 6 perfect on the back. But the Dunfermline fans didn't see that. They seen the 9 thing, and they were happy. then I had to turn around and show them on the back what and then they started applauding. But I loved my time at Dunfermline. I loved Jimmy Nicholl and I loved Jimmy Calderwood. I thought the two of them were brilliant. Again, young squad they had, which was great, along with the experienced players. I've tried to bring in experienced players. And Jimmy went on and done a great job up at Aberdeen as well. But a lot of respect for the gaffer. I call him Jimmy. I call him, I like to call all my managers gaffer because, again, it's a respect thing. I think they're, everybody that I've had, I've really enjoyed it. And he was one of the top managers that I had in regards to his, just his tactics and his coaching and what he did and how his man managed people and everything else. A lot of good qualities. Love him.
You played in that team for 2 years, and that's the best Dunfermline team I've certainly seen in my lifetime. And a lot of my mates are all the same age as well, and they all say the same. I mean, you're the likes of Skerrill on that team. You'll be able to rattle them off better than me, but what a team Dunfermline had that.
We had Skerrill, we had Thompson, we had Crawford, you had Wee McGroarty, you had Rinkenbait, you had Duisberg, Matai, and the list goes on. We Nichols, Mason, with some great little players there, really, really good players. And again, it was a dressing room that I was very surprised at, but very pleasantly surprised. They were together, they were a unit, which was great. I love that. Again, it was part of what I buy into and what we try and create. I think if you get a good dressing room, you've got a good vibe, you've got a good place, you've got good energy. I think it works for the team when that all happens. So you're halfway there, and the gaffer was halfway there. As I said, he had a good nucleus of player, which was very pleasing. I think we ended up top 6, I think.
The first season was 9th, and then the second season was 6th. And that's Dunfermline's highest finish, I think, in my lifetime, and 6th in the Premier League. And we're kind of in the wrong division for me at the moment. You really should be up there, in the top league.
I look at all the old teams that I've played for, and I'm sad that Dunfermline's, obviously down that low. But I'm sure they'll get back and they'll get up there and start challenging again. And they've got a great wee support. They really have. The stadium's beautiful as well. And they're a good fan base there as well that stick by the club, and that's what they need. They need to have a belief in them and get them out of that division and get them back up again to become a force.
Brilliant. Definitely, the Pars fans will love to hear your message. So that was you then. You moved out to Australia after that. And can you tell us, how did you end up going from Dunfermline to Australia? How did that move come about then?
There was a man called Bill Collins that was physio at Rangers, and he ended up involved down here with a team called Northern Spirit. And Northern Spirit, I think, I think Rangers were a part of that as well in some financial way. So I ended up coming down here. I ended up playing for Northern Spirit for 2 years, which I really enjoyed. And Bill was brilliant. He took me under his wing, and Bill sadly passed as well, God rest his soul. He took me under his wing and basically settled me into Sydney, which was brilliant. Again, it was no like the Premier League. It was more a lower level, if that makes sense. It was there, and it was an old National League, and it was, as I said, it was good. It was good. I enjoyed it for the 2 years I was there, but it wasn't the Premier League. It wasn't the Rangers, Celtics, the Aberdeens. It was a different type of football as well. And the sad thing about Northern Spirit was they ended up, the old National League got dismantled, and then they brought in the A-League. And that's how I was involved in the A-League for 9 years as a coach, a head coach, and also an assistant coach. So I was involved in that for 9 years as well. But that's now come up to a different standard. The A-League is far better than what the old National League was. It's more professional. It's on TV. You're getting bigger crowds now. You're actually playing in stadiums, which have got 40, 50 seater stadiums, which is great. So that is more professional now, and this is now the National League, which is good. So and that's as I said, I was involved in that for 9 years as a head coach and as an assistant coach. So and then I basically when I left that, now I'm now working with a team. It's called the NPL, the National Premier League, which is again it's not a league that, you know, you can say like the first division or the championship, or it's a lower level in regards to developing, trying to give kids opportunities, basically. And you know, if they're good enough, we'll try and move them on maybe to the A-League, or we'll try and move them on maybe into Europe or into Asia. So it's a development league where we can try and move better players.
Provide a pathway, is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, look, it could be. To me, it's tough over here because football's not set up the same way as back home. You've got all these leagues and divisions. You know, there's the A-League and then there's the NPL, but NPL can't get to the A-League. If that makes sense. So they both run at different times. You know, we're just starting the league now. The A-League's now obviously started, so it's totally different. I think we need to get our act together here in regards to grassroots and build teams where there's going to be a tier of relegation and promotion. That's still, and so it's all hickledy-pickledy at the moment. But hopefully they'll get something sorted sooner rather than later. But the hard thing here is the logistics and the money, obviously, as and sponsorship and things like that, because obviously it's a massive country. To get from Perth to one side to get to Brisbane, you know, it's 6 hours. It's something that needs to be bridged. It's something that needs to be gapped soon, because it will start going stale. They need to, and they also need more teams, I think, to promote the kids, to give them that pathway we're talking about. So it's getting that opportunity. It's giving them that opportunity, and at the moment here it's very difficult. As I said, there's no real pathway for them.
To ask, right, so what's next for yourself then? I mean, he's planning on staying in Australia right through the retirement. Do you get back to Scotland much?
Yeah. Look, I'm basically, I've been here 22 years now. I've got no plans to come back home. My family love it here. We're building a new house. We're actually rented accommodation just now. Our new houses will be built hopefully by next December, January. So a lot of exciting times. For me personally, I'm with a team called Dianella, White Eagles. I'm with them at the moment. We're hoping, we're in the first division. We're hoping that the team we've assembled will be hopefully pushing for promotion to go into the NPL. So yeah, that's my goal. And as I said, it won't be a lack of trying to obviously try and get. But you know, it's we're still in the night series at the moment, which is just to start the league. Or before the league starts, we get these games. We play a certain amount of games, and then we obviously, if you get to the final, you go into that, and then obviously the league kicks in place on March the 22nd. So looking forward to that. And I've been working at Coca-Cola now for the last 7 years, which is great. So I've really enjoyed it as well. So I'm sort of in football and also work at. I'm looking forward. I'm looking probably 60 to then obviously call it a day and everything. I don't want to stop just now. I want to keep doing things. I don't want to be sitting on my backside doing nothing. So the next 2 years for me are obviously keep working and keep in with football, and then after that'll be me. I'll call it a day.
Ian, I think that's us, mate. That has been absolutely fantastic to run through it. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and everybody that ends up watching this, because it's been great just to go down memory lane and makes you realise, you know, how good a career you had when it was actually laid out like that. It's fantastic,
I've actually really enjoyed it. You know, you took me back to certain areas in my life and certain places and times, which I've really enjoyed. But look, the memories are phenomenal, and you know, I loved every minute of that journey, and you know, I wouldn't change any. I would not change any of it. I loved everything I've done in regards to football, and it was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope it comes across.